Good day, everyone. I'm Joel Ruiz Diaz, and I will report about Chapter 2, the history of philosophy and objectives of imprisonment and the development of prison. So, first, we will tackle about first, Sing Sing prison, second, Auburn prison system, Pennsylvania system, and five, the deployment of prison, form of prison, and age of enlightenment. And next we follow the personalities behind correctional institution. So first, Cesar Marquez of Vicaria Buenacia. Second, Cesar Lombroso. Third, William the Conqueror. And last is Enrico Ferry and Clifford Shaw. The first topic is Sing Sing prison. So, as what you have saw, this picture is the facility of Sing Sing prison. And Sing Sing prison in full Sing Sing correctional facility. Maximum security prison located on Ossining, New York, in using since 1826, and it's one of the oldest penal institutions in the United States. It is also among the most well known in the country, especially notably for its harsh condition in 19th and 20th century. So Sing Sing prison is declared as the oldest penal institution in the United States. So, Sing Sing prison is probably very old system in the United States. Originally known as Mount Pleasant Prison, it was constructed in the village of Sing Sing on the east bank of Hudson River, some 30 miles or 48 kilometers north of New York City. It was designed to provide additional prison space and to replace Newgate Prison. Construction was undertaken in 1825 by convict laborers under supervision of Alan Lins, Warden of Auburn State. So Alan Lins is the warden of Auburn State Prison. He officially became head of the prison when he opened in 1826, though it was not completed until 1828. So the system is not well complete, and as well as the facilities. The prison population rose in the middle of 19th century, resulting in more construction. The four stories complex was soon six stories. So the facility is probably involved. The facility has a good progress in terms of construction matters. And then the four-story complex was soon mixed stories, and prison eventually housed more than 1,600 inmates. Because most of early convicted criminals traveled about boat to Sing Sing to praise up the river, came to mean going of prison. So in going Sing Sing prison, you cannot go by the land transportation. Instead, um, you will use boat to cross the river in order to um, in order to go in the prison. So of the notably visitors to the prison was Alexis de Tocqueville, author of Democracy in America. So the French government sent him and Gustave de Beaumont to the United States in 1831 to gather information about the American penal system. The two men under the two men were amazed at the total subjugation under the prisoners' work and the administrative warden held at Sing Sing. So the visitor is amazed by their system, about their facilities, their wardens, because it is great for them. Uh, Lynch resigned as a warden of Sing Sing in 1830 and returned to Auburn in 1838. He was asked to leave that prison a year later after death of a prisoner who was punished severe for feigning illness. Despite this record, Sing Sing rehired 1843. So Lynn, the warden of Sing Sing prison, retired in 1830, and but he rehired in 1843. Whipping and flogging were commonplace punishment in Sing Sing. Frequently used was the cat's o nine tails, a cruel whipping contraption whose lashes were often tipped with metal or bars. It was finally abolished with New York State Legislature in 1848. In addition, while Lynch was warden, inmates were expected to refrain from making noise, which include talking. With an advent of the electric chair in 1891, Sing Sing became notorious of this execution. Although the electric chair was developed at the neighboring Auburn, almost all executions with the state were carried out the Sing Sing unit. In 1963, the infamous death chair was later moved to Green Haven Prison. So, Sing Sing Prison is stated to stated that they are the notorious prisons because they execute hard punishment like electric chair, that and you cannot even talking with your inmates, and their rules and regulation is very strict, so that um, many many people says that this prison is very notorious. Sing Sing was also known also Sing Sing was also the site of reforms that affect the national penal system. Reformer Thomas Mott observed, who developed the penology theories while voluntarily incarcerated for the year of Auburn, served as Sing Sing warden in 1914 to 1915 and 1916. But his whipping change were assailed and he resigned under instead political pressure during his tenure. However, the first psychological work in inmates began more reforms were instituted under Louis Edward Lewis, with Sever as serves as warden from 1920 to 1941. He notably improved the living condition within the prison and allow inmates to participate in sport. So, Thomas Mott Osborne is also a warden in and make his duty in 1914 to 1915 and 1916, and he resigned, and luckily Lewis Edward served as a warden from 1920 to 1941, and luckily he is not strict for the inmates because they he allow inmates to participate in sports like basketball and many other sports. So in 1901, the residents of Sing Sing village changed the name to Usining. They wanted to distance, if not discourage, the town with notorious prison. For that the same reason, in 1970, renamed the prison Usining Correction Facilities. The change did not strict. However, local merchants got the previous name storage restored in 1983, thinking the concept of Sing Sing by the prison was the part of American popular culture, frequently appearing in the movies, TV shows, and both word translate to tourism. So, in 1901, the resident of Sing Sing village changed the name of that prison, but um, changed to Usining, but the the local merchants um, have the have restored the name to each original name. So so um, let let we see the Sing Sing prison cell. So this this is the um, actual photo of the Sing Sing prison cell. So Sing Sing prison cell, a cell at Sing Sing prison opening in New York City, 19 19 1910 to 1915. Library of Congress, Washington DC. So this is the location of the Sing Sing prison. In 1901, the resident of Sing Sing village changed. So that that um, topic is gonna the resident, they changed the original name of Sing Sing prison to Usining. So let's go to the next topic, which is Auburn system. Auburn prison, or the Auburn system, also known as the New York system and Congress system, is a penal method of 19th century in which persons work during the day in the group um, and were kept solitary confinement at night with enforced silence at all times. The silent system evolved evolved during the 1820s at Auburn Prison in Auburn, New York, as the alternative to modification of the Pennsylvania system of solitary confinement, which it gradually replaced in the United States. Wings favored this system because it promised to rehabilitate criminals by teaching them personal discipline and respect for work, property, and other people. So, Auburn, Auburn system is very strict also, and in terms of prisoners characteristic, um, this this system aims to have a good prisoner and to change what they are, um, what their attitude, in the past years, or in the past life, or in the past years. So Auburn State Prison, located at Auburn, New York, opened at 1816 and established a disciplinary and administrative system based on silence corpora, silence corporal punishment, and concrete group labor in architecture and routine. Auburn became a model of prison throughout the United States. In the early 19th century, many Americans believed that industrialization and dramatic demographic, economic, and political upheavals had conspired against the traditional control of family, church, community, and from their perspective, these mortal guardians could no longer adequate control disorder. So, demographic, economic, and political upheaval had conspired in traditional control. So, meaning um, the family, churches, community have the low power, towards the, um, they cannot, simply advise and simply, um, give their opinion to this kind of system. They saw crime as the product of social chaos, necessary to eradicate was necessary to its eradication was a structured environment in which deviants could be separated from the disordered society and the cognition of one another. So their solution was create a penitentiary, a new institution for reforming offenders and ultimately restoring social stability. So, in order to solve the disorder of the society, they tend to create a penitentiary, which a new institution is about a reforming in offenders and ultimately restoring social stability. So in terms of saying, in terms of, aspect of social stability, it talks about the, um, social stability terms in the lives of people that have their jobs, their status. So they tends to give, um, it tends to give, livelihood to the, people. Auburn originally used congregate cells, but in 1821, Warden William Brittain borrowed the concept of solitary cells from the so-called Pennsylvania system. Britain uh, Britain designed a unique five-tiered cell block of two rows and single cells placed back to back in the center of building. Cells measure only 3.5 feet or 1.6 meters widely, the and its wide is 7.5 feet or 2.3 meters long, and 7 feet or 2.1 meters high. Doors face outer walls linked with grated window that provide indirect light and air. This pattern of small inside cell box was later adopted by most state prisons in the United States. So they literally changed their facilities into uh, a better one and into a strict one, because the prisoner will cannot see the outside world, and they cannot um, get the air and sunlight directly. So this pattern was adapted by the prison of in the United States.